Since the man used his special ability to save the missing girl, he has been haunted by a dirty thing wrapped in a shroud. In order to find out the reason, he had to go to the place where he saved the girl again to investigate. However, on the way, he heard an abnormal noise coming from the trunk. He got out of the car to check but found nothing unusual, so the man hurried back to the car. He was about to drive away when he suddenly felt bursts of coldness coming from above his head. What exactly is wrapped in the shroud, and can the man escape unharmed? In 1996, an old man was showing his grandson Jack a family heirloom. He said the leaf in his hand was a Borneo leaf, dating back to the Majapahit era. This thing is a catalyst for them. The old man told Jack to remember one thing: when he was gone, Jack must keep the Borneo leaf on his person. After giving his instructions, the old man held the Borneo leaf and closed his eyes. Jack didn't understand what his grandfather was doing. Suddenly, the shout of his friend Rambo came from outside, so he ran out to play with him. As soon as he left, the Borneo leaf in the old man's hand was blown away by the wind. In 2013, by this time, Jack had become an expert. He often held seminars to explain the concept of reverse perception to the audience. Jack said that reverse perception is the ability to know what happened in the past. Someone in the audience asked if it was the same as out-of-body experience. Jack gave a negative answer, saying that out-of-body experience is when the soul leaves the body and enters a different dimension. However, reverse perception is when the subconscious enters a different time spiral. To achieve this, a catalyst is essential, because the catalyst is a medium connecting the present and the past. It is usually an item that someone once owned in the past. It records what happens around it, and then transmits it through electromagnetic pulses. Whoever can capture these can perform reverse perception. From a first-person perspective, they can see what happened to the owner of the item in the past, thereby completing time travel. It's just that although you can see the past, you can't change anything. And when a person who achieves reverse perception is time traveling, their physical body appears to be asleep to others. At this time, someone else asked if there was anyone who got trapped in the past and couldn't come back. Upon hearing this, Jack fell into memories. In 1996, at that time, Jack and Rambo came home after playing until they were tired, but when he got home, he saw the yard was full of doctors. Jack realized that something terrible had happened. He ran forward quickly and saw his grandfather motionless. He knew that his grandfather had achieved reverse perception, but was trapped in the past and would never return. Jack announced that today's seminar was over. The audience left one after another. Only a couple stayed behind and asked Jack if he could really achieve reverse perception, and if so, please help them find their missing daughter. Jack told them not to worry and to speak slowly. The woman said her daughter's name was Lily, and she hadn't come home since school the day before yesterday. She and her husband Jim searched everywhere Lily could go, but couldn't find anything. Jim didn't agree with his wife. He shouted that his daughter had probably eloped with her boyfriend, and even if she was really missing, they should ask the police for help. But his wife Munsa thought the police couldn't handle this matter. Jack agreed after listening, but he needed a catalyst. Then they came to the school and entered the classroom with the help of the teacher. Lily studied fashion design, and each student had a sewing machine. At this time, Jack asked if there were any of Lily's personal belongings. Munsa quickly took out her daughter's scissors, saying that they were picked up by classmates after Lily went missing. Then Jack raised the scissors, and his eyes rolled rapidly. When he opened his eyes again, he had returned to the past, and also took on Lily's perspective. It was already very late, and the teacher asked her why she hadn't gone home. Lily said that the sewing machine at home was broken, and she would leave after finishing her homework. The other party didn't say anything after hearing that and left. Not long after the teacher left, there was a knock on the door. Lily said that the door was unlocked and they could just come in, but the other party kept knocking, and she thought it was someone's prank. Lily stepped forward and opened the door, but there was nothing outside. She didn't understand why it was like this. Lily just wanted to finish her homework quickly and go home. Suddenly, the surroundings fell into darkness, and there seemed to be a pair of eyes staring at her in the darkness. The 10 fingers are linked to the heart. Lily, whose finger was pierced, let out a shrill scream. There was no time to check her injury, so she turned around again to see what was happening. Lily found that the thing from just now had disappeared. Frightened, she rushed out of the classroom without looking back. Lily ran for a long time before stopping to check her wound, but suddenly, a drop of bubbling saliva dripped down from above. Lily don't understand how there could be such a thing in the school. When Lily woke up again, she was shocked to find herself thrown into a dry well. The next second, Jack returned to the present from the past, drinking a lot of water to calm himself down. Munsa anxiously asked if the person had been found. Still in fear, Jack said to get the rope. Then he led everyone to find that dry well. which was the only place that Munsa and her husband hadn't searched. Looking down with a nervous mood, unexpectedly, Lily was really here. Jack wrapped the rope around himself and went down the well. After reaching the bottom, he had someone pull Lily up. However, although Lily was out of danger, Jack always felt that something was pulling his foot, but his eyesight was so poor that he couldn't see anything now. After taking off his glasses, in the blink of an eye, the thing wrapped in the shroud disappeared. He didn't know if everything just now was an illusion, so he first asked someone to pull him up. The Jims thanked him. Rambo told Munsa to remember to give the child a flower bath when she got back, which could get rid of the dirty things on her body. Then Jack and the other rode on the electric donkey to go home. On the way, Rambo asked Jack if he had seen the shrouded ghost, because although the well was dry, there was still plenty of moisture around, and only the shrouded ghost liked damp and dark places. However, when he turned his head, he saw that Jack was so tired that he had fallen asleep. The next day, Jack came to the cemetery to offer sacrifices to his grandfather, but saw someone waving to him. Not far away, Jack, confused, stepped forward to ask what was going on, but unexpectedly, the other person made a plaque come into close contact with him. Jack fell into the dug grave. Then the gravedigger violently shoveled soil onto Jack. Seeing that he was about to be buried alive, Jack woke up from his dream. He was trembling all over and gasping for breath, and his mother, who was watching over him, hurried to comfort him. Jack wanted to know what was wrong with him, and she explained that he had fainted when he got off the electric scooter. Thinking that her son had become like this because of all that reverse perception stuff, she hoped he would stop doing such things. Jack quickly changed the subject and went back to his bedroom. When he turned on the light, he was surprised to see a trail of muddy footprints on the floor. The next day, Jack told Rambo about the burial soil in his house, adding that this shrouded ghost was no ordinary spirit, and for some reason, its skull wasn't completely covered by the shroud. He had to find out why it had targeted Lily. As they were talking, the gravedigger walked past them with a perverted smile. Jack felt creeped out by the stare and hurried to chase after him. He saw that the man had entered a fitting room. Jack immediately lay on the ground and looked inside. He saw a lot of burial soil again. Jack frantically pulled at the fitting room curtain. Somehow, the curtain turned into a soil-stained shroud. After finally pulling it to the end, he found that the gravedigger had gone into the mirror, and once again, he showed a chilling smile. Rambo, who had caught up, asked what was wrong. Jack said he had seen the gravedigger again, and that he himself might have become the new target. Lily found herself in the well, with a creepy and terrifying ghoul wrapped above. She suddenly woke up from her dream, and only felt relieved when she saw the familiar surroundings. But just then, there was a sudden knock on the door. Now Lily was traumatized. She curled up into a ball and stared fixedly at the door. Fortunately, it was only Munsa who came in, and Lily hurried into her mother's arms. The other comforted her not to be afraid, saying that everything was over, and as she spoke, she was going to change the medicine on her hand. While changing the medicine, she mumbled that such a hand was most suitable for a sacrifice. Lily's face changed instantly. She watched in shock as her mother put her hand into her mouth and bit down hard. In pain, Lily screamed for help. Her parents rushed into the room upon hearing the sound, and saw that their daughter's mental state was very poor, so they called Jack and asked him to come to their house. They said that since Lily came home, she had been neither eating nor drinking, and even dared not sleep, saying that as soon as she closed her eyes, she would see the shrouded ghost. After hearing this, Jack said that the ghost had also haunted him, and he deeply understood. But he would find a way to solve this matter. When Lily heard that he believed she was not talking nonsense, she revealed that she wasn't the first one to be haunted by the ghost. Other students had gone missing before, and the whole school knew about it. Jim was very angry when he learned about this, and went to the school the next day to ask the teacher what was going on. Seeing that the matter couldn't be hidden, the teacher told the truth. He said that 2 students were missing before Lily. The first one was shortly after the school was founded, and the second one was about 10 years ago. They thought that after so many years, nothing would happen again, so the school hid the matter for fear of a bad impact, and even claimed that it was just a campus legend made up by students. Hearing that the school was so irresponsible, Jim shouted that he would call the police and tell the media about it. The school was simply playing with the students' lives, but fortunately, Jack told Jim not to get excited first. If the media found out about Lily's case, it would definitely affect her normal life, so it was better not to make a big deal out of it. Now they should focus on getting rid of the entanglement of the shrouded ghost. Then Jack asked the teacher if there was anyone who could help them. The teacher said there was indeed someone. The man was called Bruce, a security guard hired when the school was first built, who had retired a few years ago, and knew more about the students' disappearances than anyone else. However, when they arrived at the place, it was Bruce's daughter who opened the door. Knowing their purpose, she didn't want her father to get involved in such a matter, and was about to close the door to refuse them. Bruce in the room stopped his daughter, learning that if he didn't help, someone would lose their life because of this. Bruce finally told them about the shrouded ghost. He said that he had practiced black magic before, and even became a disciple of an evil shaman named Matty, willing to do anything to achieve his goals. He wanted to gain power and money, so he used black magic to take people's lives at will, even pregnant women. Moreover, in order to make the sacrifice more effective, he used the cruelest methods of torture. Later, his evil deeds were discovered, and the law was going to sentence him to death. Of course, Matty wouldn't wait for death obediently, so he signed a lifelong contract with the elf Barnaspasi. He voluntarily became a shrouded ghost, allowing himself to be immortal in this way. Now that they knew the origin of the shrouded ghost, Jack hoped Bruce could help them fight against it together, but the latter fell silent. Rambo took Jack and left first. After all, they couldn't force others to do something they were unwilling to do. After the two left, Bruce recalled that when he was young, he had gone astray and helped Matty harm so many people. Now that he has a chance to atone, he can no longer turn a blind eye. But his daughter didn't want him to take risks. Bruce said he didn't want to keep running away. Everyone in the village thought he was a bad person, and he didn't want to be buried with such insults. This was his last chance to prove himself, and he wanted to do a good deed in his lifetime. Rambo was worried about how to deal with the shrouded ghost next, only to learn that Jack wanted to use reverse perception to go back to the past to stop Matty from signing the contract. She questioned Jack if he was risking his life, saying that reverse perception couldn't change the past, otherwise he might never come back. With that, she left angrily. As soon as she left, Bruce came over and said he had a way to kill Matty, telling Jack to go with him to the place where Matty signed the contract, which was exactly Lily's school. On the way, Bruce said he never thought a school would be built there. To replenish energy, the shrouded ghost would carefully select a sacrifice every 10 years, and absorb their soul through their fingers. The school had provided him with convenience. Matty could easily find someone with the same birthday as him, even if that day was Kliwon Tuesday. Hearing this, Jack said he finally understood why he was also haunted, because his birthday was on that day too. Then he asked Bruce what the plan was, and how they could stop Matty's evil plan. But before Bruce could say it, he was interrupted by Matty's death warning. Jack was too lazy to pay attention and turned off the radio. How could Matty stand such humiliation? At this moment, Jack heard an abnormal noise from the trunk, so he got out of the car and checked carefully, but the trunk was empty. He closed it in confusion, but the knocking sound still didn't stop. Jack opened the trunk again, and there was still nothing inside. He didn't want to worry about it anymore, so he got back in the car and prepared to continue towards the destination. Unexpectedly, the car wouldn't start no matter what. Worst of all, Jack and the others saw through the rearview mirror that Matty was standing not far away. Bruce kept chanting spells to pray for blessing, but the other party was getting closer and closer. Seeing that the situation was bad, Jack twisted the key frantically, but the result was still the same. Moreover, suddenly there was a chill above their heads, and they looked up at the same time. The shrouded ghost started dancing on the roof of the car. Bruce kept chanting spells, hoping for divine protection, but the incantations were useless. In the critical moment, Jack finally managed to start the car and rushed out. They finally arrived at the school safely, albeit with a scare. Bruce hurried out of the car to get tools, but was spat on the face by the shrouded ghost. The saliva instantly devoured Bruce's flesh and blood. Hearing the scream, Jack got out of the car in a panic to check, and seeing Bruce's tragic state, he hurriedly shouted for help. But it was late at night, and there was not a single person around. In his dying moments, Bruce said that Matty's grave was behind the banyan tree. Jack wanted to know what to do after finding the grave, but the other person had already breathed his last. Jack deeply regretted being so scared earlier. Now he didn't even know what to do. But since he had come and already alerted the enemy, Jack had to use his own method. He picked up Bruce's ring and rushed into the woods. After finding the big banyan tree, he placed the ring in his palm. Jack was ready to use reverse perception to go back to the past and stop Matty from signing the contract. However, after trying the first two items, neither met the conditions of a catalyst. He nervously took out the last one, and fortunately, this one recorded what happened in the past. When Jack opened his eyes again, he found Matty conducting an evil ritual, preparing to turn himself into a shrouded ghost, perhaps to show loyalty. A group of believers needed to continuously hit others' heads with the handle of a knife. Matty then told the believers to start. Then one person cut open Matty's carotid artery with a knife. After confirming he was dead, the believers bathed his body and wrapped it in a shroud. Jack tried to interrupt the ritual, but the shrouded ghost noticed and took the ring from his hand. Without the catalyst, would Jack be trapped in the past forever? Jack's mother was praying at home when she suddenly heard a violent knock on the door. Wondering who would come at such a late hour, she lifted the curtain to check, and fortunately, it was only Rambo. Jack's mother complained that Rambo almost gave her a heart attack, and was about to say more when she was interrupted. Rambo anxiously asked if Jack had come back. The mother said that Jack had sent her a text message, saying he was going to the school to handle something. Rambo realized that he had gone to use reverse perception at the same time. Jack's body was controlled by Maddie and stuffed into the dry well. Rambo was still running wildly in the school corridor, constantly shouting Jack's name. Seeing no response from anywhere, Rambo completely panicked, but fortunately, she was smart, and realized that Jack was most likely at the dry well. At this time, the believers in the past time and space had already dug a pit, ready to bury Maddie in the soil, but because the catalyst had disappeared, Jack's connection between the past and the present was cut off, and his whole body began to become transparent. It was estimated that he would disappear completely soon. In the critical moment, Rambo, who ran to the dry well, found the ring on the ground. Then Rambo searched around and found him in the dry well. She hurriedly went down the well with a rope, and almost fell during the process. After finally getting close to Jack, she wanted to take his hand and put the ring on him, but unexpectedly, her own body fell rapidly to the bottom of the well. At this time, Jack, who had returned to the past, could no longer hold on. His limbs had completely disappeared, and his remaining head had also become blurred. Fortunately, Rambo suddenly had a burst of energy, rushed to Jack's side at an extremely fast speed, and successfully put the ring on him. The next second, Jack woke up. He looked around and found that he had returned to the present. Realizing that he had not stopped Maddie, he cried and told Rambo that Bruce was dead. She comforted him, saying that they must not let Bruce die in vain, and that they would find a way to kill Maddie. Then the two climbed up one after another. Rambo successfully climbed up and pulled the rope hard, but felt a strong resistance. Jack, noticing something was wrong, looked down and found that his ankle was wrapped in a shroud. He kicked frantically, but it had no effect. Rambo couldn't help but complain that Jack was too heavy and wondered what good things he had been sneaking to eat recently. Soon she couldn't hold on any longer and let go of the rope, and Jack fell straight to the bottom of the well. At least now he had hands free to tear at the shroud. Rambo didn't understand what he was doing and shouted to ask what was wrong, but Jack's situation was very bad, because water suddenly seeped out from the bottom of the well, and it looked like it was going to drown Jack alive. But Jack couldn't get away. The shroud wrapped around him was too tight, and the well water was too turbid to see the situation clearly. He had to dive into the water to remove the shroud. The shrouded ghost rose into the air and looked down at Jack like an ant, but before it could gloat for 2 seconds, Rambo threw a garlic wreath into the water, repelling the evil spirit and rescuing Jack. Jack asked why the garlic wreath was so effective, and Rambo said it was taught by her late grandfather. At this point, Jack came to his senses and said that when he went back to the past, he saw that only one knot on the shrouded ghost was untied, which was why Maddie's face was exposed. Upon hearing this, Rambo quickly said she had checked ancient books. The shroud's power came from its knots. If all knots were untied, Maddie's power should disappear. They wasted no time. Jack found where Maddie was buried, and with Rambo, drew a protective circle around it with salt. Then they dug hard. After digging over a meter deep, they finally hit the coffin lid. Jack quickly lifted the coffin lid, and saw that Maddie's body showed no signs of decay, as if it had been buried just yesterday. But now is not the time to sigh. Jack pulled frantically at the knots on the shroud, and Rambo handed him a knife. But the shroud was as hard to cut as steel wire. Just then, the sky poured down rain. The rain washed away the soil beside the body, revealing the knife that had killed Maddie. Rambo shouted that this must work, then stepped forward to lift Maddie's head, and Jack took the knife. He cut 2 knots in a row. But they didn't notice the rain had washed away the salt circle. The shrouded ghost had already realized its lair was being invaded. By the time Rambo noticed and went to replenish the salt, the shrouded ghost had already returned to its body. Hearing the abnormal noise, Rambo turned around in a panic, only to find that Jack had been buried in the soil. Without thinking too much, she dug the soil frantically with her hands. Fortunately, the soil was very soft after being washed by water, and Jack was rescued after a while. However, the crisis wasn't over. The shrouded ghost fell directly from the sky and, with a powerful blow from a distance, knocked Rambo flying forcefully. Jack angrily attacked the ghost, but his fist stopped in midair, and he was controlled to stretch out one finger. Then the shrouded ghost began to feast greedily again. Jack took the opportunity to pick up the nearby knife, and stabbed it fiercely into the ghost's chest. Then he continued to cut the knots on the shroud with the knife. As the last knot was cut, the shrouded ghost unwillingly vanished into nothingness, and the body turned into a skeleton of bare bones. Having confirmed that the shrouded ghost was eliminated, Jack crawled to Rambo in tears, thinking she had passed away. Fortunately, she had only fainted from the pain. In the end, Bruce was properly buried in the cemetery, Lily returned to her normal life, and Jack had a complete epiphany, deciding to continue using his reverse perception ability to help others in the future. The film ends here. The horror atmosphere of the movie is well created, full of Indonesian local customs. The dim lighting and horror sound effects are well handled, but there are a few points I want to complain about. The Borneo leaf at the beginning was described as so powerful, and the grandfather specifically told the protagonist to carry it with him. I thought it would be some kind of ultimate weapon in the end, but it had no role at all. It was really unnecessary. Moreover, Bruce's death is really abrupt. He had so much time before dying, but he just didn't tell the male lead how to solve the problem first, forcibly paving the way for the male lead to use his reverse perception ability. Just when I thought the movie wouldn't be able to wrap up properly, the female lead directly said that she knew how to kill the evil shrouded ghost. It turns out that except for the male lead, other people casually knew the solution, but they just waited until the male lead was about to die to say it. It's somewhat perfunctory to the audience. As for why one knot on Maddie's shroud was not tied, it seems that according to folk legends, if the knot is not tied properly, the ghost can't smoothly go to the other world. This is actually exactly what Maddie wanted, to achieve immortality in a disguised way, and stay in the human world. If you like my commentary, please subscribe to my channel. Your support is the greatest encouragement to me. See you next time.